Hello, guys, and welcome to Team Talk. We've got an amazing day. If you haven't seen some of the content that we've put up already, make sure you look through the rest of the channel. Throughout the day, we're going to be putting content with rugby players and rugby people from all over the world as we catch up with them and see what they've been up to and just have a chat and just a get together. Team Talk is an idea that Fab Rugby, myself, the guys, and Looseheadz, Rob, and the gang at Looseheadz have come together, and we want to encourage people to talk really and to reach out to their old friends, old teammates that they haven't spoken to in a little while. So that's what the day is about. But so what we've decided to do with it, we've put loads of great content around it to kind of have a laugh as well and just get people talking. So today we've done some other bits, but now we are joined, if I switch to this camera, by Mr. Ethan Waller.
Hello.
So
Thanks for
today
having me.
we're going to be doing some cooking with Ethan. Already I know so far that now what panko breadcrumbs are. I didn't know what they were. At 8:30 last night when I'm searching around a cost cutters looking for it, I had no idea. Realised it was just breadcrumbs that are spinning in an oven pretty much. So realising that. And and searching for ciabatta rolls at like 8 o'clock this morning. That is life at the moment. It's a bizarre time. How are you keeping anyway, Ethan? You well?
Yeah, I'm not doing too bad, thank you. I know what you mean. The shops are a little bit carnage. I think there was a few bits I forgot as well. So I was in the queue this morning for 20 minutes trying to get into Sainsbury's and had to substitute a couple of things. But no, I'm doing well, thanks. I'm keeping busy, which is the main thing. Got a fair few projects on at the moment, which is keeping my attention very much focused.
Has it been quite tough to kind of keep yourself going every day? I appreciate for everyone else that they've gone to work and they do what they do, but for a rugby player, this is like you can't get a different lifestyle from what would be for a rugby player because you've got the team, like you're constantly around a group of lads, you're training physically, you're taking the physical hits. Both those things straight away, you're not doing any of them anymore. So is it quite a challenge to firstly to keep motivated through this? And are you enjoying the fact that you're getting a bit of a downtime sort of thing?
I think the novelty's worn off now. The first couple of weeks was nice because it was a chance to sort of reset the body and mix up training a little bit, and because we thought it was going to be a few weeks and then we were going to be back into the swing of things. Since there's not really been an end in sight as such, it's differed. I've had to set myself sort of short-term goals or at least projects to do to keep myself motivated, but scheduling, I think, is the biggest thing for me. It's weird. You don't think about it much, but as rugby players, we're pretty much regimented in a routine, and we've gone from like school that's decided how your day goes straight into rugby where your day's decided how it goes, and that suddenly getting shook up was probably the biggest shaker for me. And I actually wrote myself down a schedule, so I'm training at the same times every day. I know there's slots where I can do X, Y, and Z. So I'm doing all right, but it's the socializing bit that I probably miss the most, which I imagine is the same for a lot of people around at the moment. Just going from 50 lads around the place to my missus and the dog is a bit of a change.
So then, what are we cooking today? Then we've got obviously you're a big fan of food, and we'll get on to. I thought with the interview today, I thought we'll do the cooking, but we'll start off. We'll talk a bit about the rugby, and then we'll move on to your love for cooking and stuff. But before we really get into that, what are we actually cooking today?
So today we're cooking what's known as a chicken parm, which is essentially a shallow fried chicken breast with a garlic butter ciabatta roll and some tomato sauce and a load of cheese. It's one of the best things you'll ever eat.
I'm very excited for this. I'm super excited. So I'll tell you what, let's get you, if you want to get underway, if you want to tell me what you need to do, and as we're going, I can pop some questions in.
Sweet. First thing you want to do is get a nice little burn around the back here. Get your pan, a reasonably sized pan, onto a medium heat and fill it about, I'd say, 2-3 centimeters full of vegetable oil. Because we'll get that going, because that's what we're going to shallow fry our chicken in.
Okay. Just going to have to move that.
Make sure you don't fill it too much, because if that overflows, you will be in trouble.
Yeah, so we're going. So I'll just turn that on.
Probably, I'll tell you what, I'll bring the camera over. You can see how much I've got in mine.
Yeah.
So probably about a centimetre. You just sort of want to cover the bottom of the pan.
Okay, no problems.
And while you're there at the stove, turn your grill on to medium as well. Get that warming up.
Oil's going in.
That's what we're going to toast our bread in.
on a nice medium heat.
Yep.
And turn the grill on. Thing is, now I'm actually learning how to use actual things in this kitchen because I don't tend to use the grill. So now I'm like, which one's the grill? Well, I think it might be a case of I'll turn to one, if that, and then I'll get there.
It's all right, mate. We'll get there. It's fine. Yeah, but I think it's mad. The amount of people that are getting into cooking at the moment, obviously because we're stuck inside, is actually quite decent. I'm seeing some people try some outrageous things on Instagram and Twitter.
Are you getting inspiration from them? Are you seeing some like wacky stuff and thinking, right, I'm gonna do that, but I'm gonna go even bigger?
Yeah, I tell you what, I've followed quite a few guys that smoke meat. Dave Flatman, my mate Nick Shonnett, who I started a podcast recently about food, which I'm sure we'll talk about later. Yeah. But I had a big conversation with him about smoking meat, and I've ended up buying a load of gear for that. I'm going to give that a crack this weekend, so we'll see how it goes.
It's the done thing. If you're a rugby player now, you have to have a smoker when the summer comes
to.
It's part of the being a rugby player tradition that is now. So I've got the heat on there. I've just turned the oven on. So I just want to ask you a little bit about rugby then. How did you kind of start playing rugby? Where did your journey into rugby begin?
If I'm perfectly honest with you, I was just a real fat kid. I had no idea how rugby worked. But I joined my secondary school when I was like 11 or 12. Wasn't massively into sport, and they went, "You're quite big. How good are you at pushing?" And I was like, "All right, I guess." And they just sort of shoved me in the front row. But literally fell in love with it there. Went through up to the age of 17, just playing at my local club, and then sort of my last year of school got picked up by the Saints Academy. Had a year on trial with the senior squad, and then ended up signing my first proper contract, and everything sort of snowballed from there, really. But I mean, it's mad that even after 15, 16 years of it, still love the game just as much now as I ever did. I'm a massive Norse.
That's what it's all about. Right, so what are we next doing with the cooking?
Right, next up, we're going to get our garlic butter sorted.
Okay,
so grab some butter.
Yeah, I'll grab some Lurpak somewhere. There we go. Does it need to be soft or?
No, we can shove it in the microwave because mine's not soft either. So grab probably about that much, probably a large tablespoon's worth.
Okay.
Shove that in a bowl and chuck it in the microwave for, I'd say, about 20 seconds.
Cool.
Don't want it fully melted, but we just want it softened a little bit. And meanwhile, we're going to get the stuff ready to go with that garlic butter. So grab your garlic. I've got 3 cloves, but make it as garlicky as you want to make it.
Yeah.
And just peel those. So if you get the back of your knife on top of the garlic, and just give it a smack down, that'll crush it, and the peel will come straight off.
Okay. All right, give it a go. My cooking skills, I'd say, are varied at best. Some days they can be really good. Other days, baked beans on toast can be a challenge sometimes.
Oh, mate, there's nothing wrong with beans on toast. Absolutely nothing wrong with that. Okay, so my butter's melted a little bit more than I want to, but that's fine because we've got time. So I'll shove all our stuff in here, and then I'll put it in the fridge just for it to firm up a little bit more.
Okay.
So once you've peeled your garlic...
So I've just peeled the garlic. Butter's still... it's soft now. But it's not melted. It's kind of like... if I show you... Oh, you can't see that one.
That's right, don't worry.
That's the level.
Yeah, that's perfect. Cool. That's fine. That's perfect. So grab your knife, and we're going to chop this as fine as possible.
Yep.
So the way I hold knives... I see a lot of people holding knives like that.
Yeah.
And again, as much as I am a rugby Norse, I'm a food Norse as well. So all the videos I've watched, you sort of want to be holding it like this. So you get a nice grip on the blade, and then it's a little bit safer.
Okay.
So I'm told.
Just chopping it tiny, yeah?
Yeah, just chopping it as tiny as possible.
I haven't got probably the right food terminology, and people are going to absolutely rinse me for it, but chopping it tiny, that works for me.
Chopping it tiny is absolutely fine. But you know what you mean.
Yeah, exactly.
There's no point in mincing words about it. Everyone knows what you mean when you say it.
A family friend, we went to Ireland once, and I realised that I know very little in the world, and I was talking about horses and stuff, and I was like, oh, look, there's tiny horses out there, not realising they had like actual real names and stuff like that. So forever getting rinsed for calling horses tiny horses now. Like,
It's accurate though, isn't it? It's a tiny horse.
I'm just one of those people. I say what I see. I'd be really good on catchphrase, to be fair. Like,
Right. Once you've chopped that up as fine as you like, just put that in straight in with your butter.
yeah.
And grab your parsley.
Oh, I've got basil. Is that going to do it?
Basil or parsley works, either or. So for this, you're literally just going to want to scrunch it up into a ball.
How much are we talking?
Just under a handful, probably about half a handful.
Okay, just under a handful. Yeah.
But roll it up into a ball and then sort of fold it over itself, almost like you're rolling a little cigar on the chopping board.
Okay.
So you've just got a little mound, and then you can just start slicing through that carefully, and that'll mince it up nicely. And then just keep running your knife through that and get it as fine as you want it. It doesn't really matter how fine you've got it for this.
So where
this is going to be what we're going to put on our bread.
So where did your love of cooking first start then?
I mean, we've already mentioned, very fat kid. But when I moved out of my my house with my parents, I don't know, I sort of, there was an interest in it from a nutritional standpoint in terms of trying to get into better nick and trying to use it to perform and so on and so forth. But I've just always loved eating food. I've probably been better at eating it than I have been cooking it for the majority of my life. But as I moved out on my own, and I think it actually probably kicked off. I lived with my brother and a few other lads in Northampton, and we used to do a night each cooking. Yeah. I think the competitiveness of that probably played a part because we all wanted to be like the best cook and have the best meal. Well, bar Jamie Elliott, he was the opposite. That kid used to eat like ketchup sandwiches. Oh mate, yeah, I know. He's better now, but he had a carnage diet. And then it sort of just snowballed. And when I was trying to think of a business to do, ended up getting a pizza van. So grab a fork, just mix all that together.
Okay. Yeah. Sorry. Go back to what you were saying about your time with the lads growing up when you cooking.
Oh yeah. So and then when it came to me and Al were talking about life after rugby and how fragile rugby is and how important it's going to be to have something afterwards. And it was an easy thing to set up from a point of view of we could pick it up and put it down as we needed to. Yeah. We didn't have to put a load of money into it. We weren't losing money every week from having it. Once we bought it, it was there, and we could just grow it at our own pace. And then researching, because I didn't want to put out a half-assed product.
No.
Researching all the stuff for that sort of led me this rabbit hole of learning how to cook, basically.
Yeah.
Sweet. So when you're done with that, shove that in the fridge. If yours is like mine, I'm going to just do it to keep up. Yours will probably be all right at room temp, to be fair, mate. Mine melted a little bit, so I'm just leaving that in there.
So in there we had garlic. I had basil and butter.
Yeah. And then you just leave that, and that'll be a decent little garlic butter to spread on our ciabatta.
Cool.
So we'll carry on prepping all the stuff that's not meat before we get stuck in cutting the chicken, just so we don't have to wash the board too much. So grab your ciabatta. We'll cut that in half now.
Yep.
Well, it depends how big yours is. I ended up getting an absolute slab of it, bit of kit. So I'm gonna cut that in half. I'm a big lad, but I don't need the entire thing.
So what was life like when you coming through and you were at the Saints then, and you obviously playing with your brother? How was that as an experience, like being able to play with your brother?
The experience itself was awesome. I loved playing with my brother, and I think coming through it was probably a massive help for me because I had someone there who, when you first join and you're surrounded by all these people you used to watch play, it's easy to get stuck in that sort of, easy to get starstruck and not really ask questions, just sort of be there and experience it.
Yeah.
Having him there meant that I actually had someone to talk to and sort of learn the ropes from, which is invaluable in my career because I avoided a lot of the traps that you can fall into as an academy lad.
Yeah.
Accidentally being arrogant or saying the wrong thing or not performing the way you should. When you get a chance, just cut your ciabatta in half. So
I've just done that, and I was like, I don't know if he actually said that.
Professional like that. That's good. And then we'll leave that to the side. Just ready for later. And then we'll move on to we'll prep our mix. But it was it was certainly interesting. It grew as a frustration towards the end, I think, because I wasn't getting a lot of game time, which is why I moved. But growing up and getting through that system, it was probably a blessing having him there, just to develop myself as a rugby player. But there was always going to be a time where one of us had to go. It just happened to be me.
Yeah, because obviously you played the same position, don't you? So it's kind of was there no way of maybe switching a position? Did you try other positions, or when you were growing up?
I tried playing tight end for a bit, and I'll level with you. I got my head shoved up my ass a few times. It wasn't my bag by any stretch, and I learned that pretty quickly. Right, so next up we're going to get flour.
Okay, how much flour do you?
So I'm going to put in, because normally I always overdo it with the flour on this. I end up throwing half of it away, and it's a commodity at the moment, isn't it?
Yeah.
So I think because we're probably going to be doing one breast, or are you feeling hungry?
Yeah, I'll do one breast. Yeah, I'm only doing
one breast. Yeah, I'd probably go tablespoon, maybe tablespoon and a half of flour.
Cool. Pop that there. Tablespoons. God, I'm getting to know this kitchen more than I ever do normally. It's crazy.
I know, but I tell you what, this is a curse, because it's actually not that hard to do, but it tastes unbelievable. So this is, but it's also extremely bad for you.
So 1.5, yeah.
No one's every now and again treat, a special treat.
I'm not going to be getting those Johnny May abs anytime soon, then.
No, absolutely not. Grab yourself the mixed herbs. That'll do you.
Yeah. Okay.
That'll do you nicely, and then sprinkle about a teaspoon of that in your flour mix. I've got some oregano and some dried basil and some garlic granules here, so I'm going to shove those in just to season the flour a little bit.
Yeah.
And once you put that in, then grab yourself some salt and pepper and just sprinkle a bit of that in.
Okie dokie, pepper.
Where's mine? There it is. And then grab a fork and just mix that all together.
So if you're watching along on the stream, you can cook along with us as well. So if you are cooking along as well, we'll have put the ingredients up online, so you can join in. Let us know how you get on in the chat. Put salt on that. Salt. Yeah. And right. So you've also got your pizza business, haven't you? You do.
I do, yeah.
So how did that kind of come about? Like, was that just a love of pizza? You thought, I just want to give it a go? Is it kind of, or were you always thinking, on that level of, I want to do something after? Pizza's a great thing. Let's move into that.
It was more looking at the future than it was a specific love for pizza. Myself, my brother, and my old man, we used to be in a band, like a full family band.
Okay.
And
what kind of music?
Everything, mate. We'd cover your classic pub band. Like, you go to Friday at your pub on a Friday for an ale. We were probably the guys there. And we did a wedding, and there was a guy out the back of a transit van just flogging pizzas. Yeah. And we ended up getting a couple, and they were unreal. And me and Al then looked at the logistics of it, as I said, and saw we could pick it up and put it down. And then I know that pizza's got a ridiculous markup. I saw a documentary on Domino's, and the markup of it's silly. So we looked into that, and then it led me down the rabbit hole of different types of pizzas, because there's loads. And we went to Neapolitan style because it was the best kind that I tried, and the one I most wanted to replicate. Yeah. It wasn't without its trials and tribulations. I got the recipe wrong a few times. I've created some rubbish pizzas, but on the whole, it was pretty good. Right, so grab an egg.
I'm just going to grab an egg. I'm just going to quickly one egg.
I'll carry on with the chat about the pizza stuff. So we went with, there's so many different types of pizzas, and we looked into it. I say my brother's much more of a financial backer in this business than he is necessarily involved in it, because we're obviously far away from each other at the moment. So there's only so much we can do. He does like the private events with me and stuff, and he's a good cook of it. But the final decision sort of lay on my shoulders. So we ended up getting into that, and it's been really good over the last few weeks. We had a plan for expanding, but this summer all our gigs pretty much have been cancelled, which has shoved a bit of a spanner in that. Yeah, and it's a shame, but we're improvising. So we delivered pizza packs yesterday to people around Worcester. So it was We made 2 doughs and then added all the ingredients to that. And then people could and put some instructions in, and then people just made them in their own homes. And we got some really good feedback, which is decent.
That's great. So in that earlier one, the flour one, it was just flour, mixed herbs, salt, pepper.
And salt and pepper. Yeah.
Cool. That's cool. Done that now. I'm just going to put that weird sloppy stuff over there. Let me get another egg.
Right, no worries.
And then just the egg is just on its own, isn't it, in a bowl?
Just on its own, yeah. So when we come to the chicken, we're going to go chicken in the flour, then we're going to put it in the egg, and then we're going to put it in the breadcrumbs so it all sticks.
Okay, all right. Egg in there. And pork. Right, I'm back with you now.
No worries.
Cool.
So then get yourself a little plate or another bowl if you want to, and then you're just going to sprinkle some of your breadcrumbs on that plate so we can just put the chicken in it after we've covered it in egg.
Okay. So a plate with the breadcrumbs on it.
Yep, just literally just like that.
So I noticed you've got your podcast and it's about food and stuff. I noticed you had Christian Day on it, who was recently he's now star status. After
Mate, it's mad.
Yeah,
he's gone. He's exploded, hasn't he?
He's an icon now. I know the middle-aged people are absolutely loving him. They are absolutely loving him. He's but no, it's great. So do you think this is what's going to happen? Do you think that's the next path for you?
Possibly. I don't think I'm anywhere near that kind of standard. I'm very much I cook for myself or people like-minded. So I'm all about cooking food that tastes good, but a fair bit of it. I don't think I've got it in me to do sort of like the dainty, really intricate dishes that are on there, because I want quantity. So that's sort of what I end up cooking. Right, before we carry on with that, let's get your tomato sauce on as well. So have you got a tin of chopped tomatoes?
Tin of chopped tomatoes, yep.
Sound. So if you grab a little saucepan, just around that size, and you're literally just going to shove that in the saucepan, turn the heat on to medium high, so it starts simmering away, and then just add some salt and some dried basil to it.
Okay.
I have some leftover pizza sauce from my pizza packs yesterday, which is pretty much the same thing, but it's fresh basil. So I'm just going to shove that in my pot just to warm up.
1 second. Salt.
Where's
basil. There we go.
Yeah, put that on a medium high. We want to reduce it a bit so it gets a little less watery.
Just a bit of basil, yeah.
Yeah, just a bit. Just grab a couple of the leaves off and then just tear them up and put them in.
Cool. I've gone for dry.
Nice, that's fine. Don't worry about it. All good.
Right, on a medium to high heat. Okay.
So you just want to get that to bubbling. It doesn't want to be like aggressively boiling. It just wants to be bubbling, so it's simmering away and starting to reduce.
Okie doke.
So that when we put it on the sandwich, it doesn't make everything soggy.
So I'm just going to turn this camera around so you can see. So we've got the pans now. So I'll move them that way. Okay, right. Yeah, great stuff.
Next up, we're going to move to. So have you got grated mozzarella or a ball of it?
A ball of it. It's still in
ball
there.
Of it. Lovely. Yeah. Okay, so we're going to chop that up just for ease of placing on our sandwich.
Okay.
So go and drain the water in the sink or whatever. I've got a little pot here, so I'm just going to get it in there.
What's your favourite pizza topping then, if you could have anything?
Oh, so we do one. I'm gonna plug myself at the same time. We've got one called the goat, which is caramelized onions, goat's cheese, and sausages, and wow. It is unreal. Like by far my favourite pizza that we do. Just because I sort of stumbled upon it by accident, but it ended up being unreal. And it was initially everything there was from Worcester as well. It's all local produce. So we got the sausages were local Worcester sausages from a butcher's, and the goat cheese was as well. And then the onions we got from a farm shop. So I assume they're from Worcester because they're a local farm shop. You're just going to cut your mozzarella into little bits like this.
Okay. Yeah.
Just so that it's easy to place on the easy to place
Nice.
on the sandwich when we're constructing it.
So let's talk a little bit about Worcester then. How did the move to Worcester come about?
So I was in the last year of my contract at Northampton. I knew I was going to have to make a change. So I was becoming more and more frustrated at not really playing much. And I knew the conditioner at Worcester at the time, who was Nick Johnson. Yep. I knew Phil Dowson, GJ Van Veltz, who were here, and I had quite a bit of conversation with Phil Dowson about my future and would it be a good fit for me there. He thought it would be. I ended up going and having a meeting with Nick and the head coach at the time, Kyle Hogg. We had a chat. They talked me through their vision on what was going forward and how the club was and all the facilities and so on. And it was an amazing place. Well, it is an amazing place for facilities, and the lads are fantastic. But the vision that was put out there and how they wanted to develop players and how they wanted to make a group around a good core.
Yeah.
And they said they wanted me to be one of those core players, and that was big for me. And I said I was in and I wanted to jump on it straight away. So ended up signing that. Then the management all changed. So by the time I joined, but the core vision was still the same. And it's not been without its difficulties and its challenges, and they're obviously very different from the ones I had at Northampton. But
yeah,
it's been a hell of a ride, and I signed on for another 2 years because I really believe that there's so much more this squad can do, and we're starting to scratch the surface a bit.
Well, it seems to be that Worcester have managed to keep hold of a lot of the key players, haven't they? Like in the past, it seems they've lost a lot of the players. Like in the past, we had Dylan and Woody came from that direction. Yeah. But it seems to be you've kind of kept a lot of the key talent that you've got in the squad now. So it's definitely promising moving forward. All right, so what are we on to next?
So next up, we're moving on to our chicken. So, actually, I'll tell you what first. Get yourself a baking tray and just line it with some tin foil.
Yeah, no worries.
Just for when we put the bread on it, so it doesn't basically piss butter all over your oven. I forgot I'd done that earlier. Prep work, that is.
Right, bit of tin foil. Cool.
Yep. And then whilst you're over that way, just grab a handful of your panko breadcrumbs just to see whether the oil's
so what was the
at the right temperature. Just grab a little pinch and just put it in your oil just to see if it starts sizzling.
Oh, okay, got you. So just a pinch of the breadcrumbs.
If it starts lightly sizzling, then we're on for the right temperatures.
It's kind of like
mine's.
I'll tell you, it's a bit.
Is it bubbling a bit?
Yeah, it was bubbling a bit, that one. So just turn it down a little bit.
Yeah, that's fine.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah, that's okay. As long as it's not gone almost black straight away. You want it to be bubbling because you want it to be reacting to it, but we don't want it so hot that it's going to burn the chicken before it gets a chance to cook. So, grab your chicken. Just go for one breast.
Yeah, so I'm just going to pop the mozzarella onto a plate.
Yeah, come on. I've just touched that chicken with the wrong hand. I'm going to quickly wash my hands. The old one hand clean, one hand not method.
So important nowadays to wash your hands. Stay safe.
Correct. I'll be here for 20 seconds. Talk amongst yourselves.
Right.
There we are, sweet. I think. Right, I'm coming back.
Right, so one breast.
One breast. And what we're going to do, because we want this to cook, evenly whilst getting colour on it, we're going to cut it in half, similar to how we did with our bread. So if you lay your palm flat on the chicken breast.
Yep.
I'll bring the camera down, hold on, because we don't really need to see my entire station at the moment. So there we go. So if you lay your hand flat on the chicken breast like that,
yep.
Get your knife into where the middle of it is, and then just start going through the middle. You can get to a point where you'll then be able to open it up, and your knife should be able to go straight through. And we're basically going to cut this in half, and so we've got two breasts.
Okay, I'll move that across.
Okay. Of a similar thickness, so that they'll cook around the same time.
Okay. I apologise for my cooking skills. Anybody who might be watching this and is absolutely going, "What is he doing?" So I'll just apologise now. Right, so it comes across. And are we actually cutting it in half? Do you say, or just two?
Yeah, so we'll cut it straight in half. I was going to butterfly it, but for ease of getting it in the sandwich along with everything else, it's probably easier to cut it straight in half. And yeah, we're not presenting it to anyone; it's just for our own eating. So
absolutely,
who cares?
Sure, wash hands after that. I find touching chicken one of those weird things. It's a bit...
Oh mate, I do. I hate raw chicken. Yeah. I hate it. Love the meat. Hate the raw chicken.
So what have you been cooking with your smoking stuff lately?
To be honest with you, it only came this week. So my first go is tomorrow. I've got a pork shoulder that I'm going to give a go. Lovely. It's either going to go very well or horrendously badly. So we'll find that. Right. So we'll move on. We'll get stuck straight in.
Yep.
So going to go one hand wet, one hand dry. So your left hand is going to be your dry hand. So that's what you're going to pick the chicken up with. Put it in the flour.
So let me go
and just get it nicely coated.
So let me go. So it's flour first. If you want flour first, then egg.
So if you have it lined up, flour, egg, breadcrumbs.
Yeah. Flour, egg, breadcrumbs.
So get it in your flour. Get it nicely covered in all that seasoned flour because that's going to take on a fair bit of flavour with it. And then lift it up. Give it a shake to get rid of any excess.
Yeah.
Your egg wash. Then with your other hand, while it's in the egg, because it's going to be your wet hand. Just mix that round so again it gets a nice covering of egg. Okay. And then once it's got the covering of egg, shake off any excess and place it in the breadcrumbs and get that nice and coated in there because it's where all the crunch is going to come from when we fry it.
Thank you. All right.
So make sure that's nicely covered.
Into the breadcrumbs that goes.
And then just place that on a plate while we do the same thing with the next one.
Okay. Quickly swivel hands. So then let's talk a little bit about life away from rugby. Is most of your life dominated by rugby and food, or is there other things that you enjoy?
The vast majority of it is, yeah. I mean, it's hard not to because rugby's so engulfed, and it's such a bubble that's easy to get swept up in. During the season, it has to be. Otherwise, you never really perform the way you should. But when I'm out of season or when I'm just trying to relax and get away from it, when we get those breaks every now and again, cooking's huge because I'm just a fat boy at the end of the day. I love food. I love making food. It's also my side business, but my side business twofold now, I suppose, with the podcast as well.
Yeah.
But I love my music, so I've got a fair few guitars. I've got a piano. I've got a few bits lying around the house that I like to dabble on and that just relaxes me really. So whenever I've had a stressful day or something, I'll just lock myself away in a room and crack on. If I'm feeling particularly shameless, I'll jump on Instagram and put some stuff on there as well.
I did see some of that. So obviously we're talking about lockdown and stuff. What have you been doing to keep yourself entertained for that? So you've done that. Have you been doing anything else? That's one thing. How do you keep in touch with the lads during all this? It must be quite difficult, as I said earlier. So how are you keeping in touch with the other lads?
I'm just going to wash my hands while we do this. So I obviously Zoom has become one of the biggest things around, hasn't it? Really. So we've had a fair few conversations like that. There's a group of us that we meet up once a week on there and just generally chat and share a beer over the internet.
Oh, that's cool.
Otherwise, it's quite easy to keep in touch now, although we're not seeing each other face to face. It's easy to have the conversations and drop a WhatsApp, and this podcast has actually been a way of doing that because I've got to speak to quite a few lads that I know generally and just have a long sort of 40-minute hour conversation just initially about food, but it naturally digresses to everything else in life as well. So
yeah, that's it. It's one thing that we can all discuss, isn't it? Food. We'll all do it, and everybody can talk about it.
Everyone needs it.
Yeah, exactly. Right. So,
we're going to move on to actually cooking the chicken. So I'm going to move you over here.
Right, I'm going to switch.
I've got a nice little shovey on top of the air fryer. Professional athlete, air fryer, none of that fat stuff. Apart from now.
I'm going to switch to there.
That's not where I thought the camera was. There it is. How's that? Can you see that? That kind of works, doesn't it? Sound. Right, Roger. Grab yourself a pair of tongs.
Okay, what's that?
That's looking.
I'm just going to turn that down a little bit. My even on my lowest heat on that, it seems to be getting a bit crazy, the tomatoes. Not got tongs, but I will work.
Well, anything you can do just to grab the chicken, really.
Yeah.
Just don't wait to
I'll
save you getting all chicken in your hands again.
Yeah, I'll use 2 forks. I'll get creative.
Nice. You can just use one, to be fair to you. So just grab your chicken. Always lay it away from you. So put the bottom of it in first, and then lay it away when it's going in the hot oil. Same with the other one.
It's a nice sizzle going on there.
And then we don't really want to touch that until it starts to get brown. So you'll see the colour will start to come up sort of around halfway, and that's when you know it's time to flip it.
Okay.
You can always pick it up and check the colour in, but you should be able to tell just by how it looks on the side after a period of time. Yep. So I'm going to shove that chickeny plate in the sink so I can sort that out later. Whilst that's cooking away, what we can do is butter our bread with our garlic butter.
Okay.
Just grab yourself a knife or a spoon, whatever your weapon of choice.
Nice and there.
I cannot stress enough how bad this is for you, but it's so good.
Yeah, it looks good and it smells amazing.
Yeah, so spread that liberally on your bread. And what we're going to do is we're only going to toast the inside of it with the garlic butter on. So the outside stays soft, but you get a different texture on the inside when you get the crunch of the toasted bread and the crunchy chicken.
Okay. So we're putting this onto our tray, are we?
Yeah, and then getting that onto your tray. We're not going to put it in yet, but it's just while that's cooking, it's just something that we can just prep and get away. Because what we'll do is we'll toast that while the chicken rests.
Okay.
Tidy up while you go. Easiest way to do it.
There we go. So that's what we just prepared there. You see on camera. So have you done any courses in food, or is it kind of just experience and practice?
A lot of it is just, as you say, experience and practice. I think I did one course when I was 13 or 14. No, sorry. I don't know why I went 13 or 14. I meant like the first couple of years in the academy. Right. They're very different times. When I was like 18 or 19, because they wanted us to basically, I don't know whether it was just my academy or whether it's everyone, but Old El Paso fajita tickets just seemed to be the way to survive. So that was pretty much all I was having on a daily basis. So they sent us to, I think, Malton College at the time to go get some food courses, and that was great. That taught you the basics, and it taught us how to feed ourselves properly, basically. But other than that, it's just been a lot of trial and error. I get really excited. We had a chef at Northampton called Gavin Austin, he used to work in like Gordon Ramsay's restaurants. He'd had a fair bit of experience, and I used to nause him all the time because on Fridays before a game, probably retrospectively, probably not great for you, but Fridays before a game, we used to have a roast. So he'd do like a Sunday roast style. Talking like proper roast potatoes, Yorkshire puddings. He'd put a dessert out the day before a game because we need to get carbs. But he'd commit, and he was so good at it.
So passionate towards doing
it. And it sort of just it sparked that love even more so. Right, so if we have a look at our chicken.
Yep.
So this one's ever so slightly thinner, but so I can see that starting to cook, and then
should be looking
nice and golden brown that side. So that's time for a flip. Ooh. The other one's ever so slightly thicker, so I'm going to leave that in just on that side just a little bit longer. If you want to, you can use a spoon or your tongs and just get a bit of that oil on the top as well, just to start that cooking process from the top.
Oh, it's so good. Yeah, I've got nice golden colour.
It's already starting to smell unreal.
Oh, so good.
But yeah, so it's sort of the passion for food has been a slow burner for cooking anyway. The passion for food itself has always been there, but actually wanting to cook and make all this stuff myself has been really slow. And I set myself a challenge before all this coronavirus stuff to cook every single recipe in a cookbook.
Oh, right.
I'll find it. Hold on. So here it is. So it's called Binging with Babish, right? And it's this YouTube channel, and he just recreates recipes from TV or film, but then if they're rubbish, like, he makes them a little bit better. But things in there, so I've got things like, so in Elf when he makes that breakfast pasta, with like all the sweets and stuff, like that's in there, so that's going there. There's just some outrageous things in there that I need to crack on with.
I can feel the Worcester nutritionist like pulling his hairs out right now. Like,
it's only once a week, it's fine. I've lost a bit of timber during this whole isolation period anyway, so everything's okay. I can get away with it. Yeah, probably, mate. I use this time at the moment just to tidy down, just get the workstation a little bit cleared up. I think that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to lob that in the bin.
So I just wanted to ask you about Worcester then, really, and like, so do you live in Worcester itself?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I live right in the middle of the town.
And what do you think? What's it like living down there? Are you settled?
Absolutely, yeah. I love living down here. I bought a place in January last year, which was sort of almost done, putting the finishing touches on. It's got an air raid shelter.
Wow.
So if anything does really hit the fan with this whole coronavirus thing, I'm sweet.
You are so prepared then.
It was random. So we bought this place, and then we walked into I was looking through I was showing it on Rightmove to somebody. I was looking through all the garden specs, and it's just so innocuously put in there, and no one mentioned it when we viewed it. And it was just like outdoor hose, sheds, AstroTurf, decking, World War II air raid bunker, gated entrance. And you're like, hold on a minute. Right, let's say that's looking pretty good. That one, this one may need just a little bit longer. So the best thing I ever bought in terms of cooking for myself was, and I can't find it. That's embarrassing. Here we go. Is this little meat thermometer?
Okay.
So with that, it just so then when I've got things like this, instead of having to cut things open to see if they're cooked, I literally just poke that in, and if it's 79 degrees, 78 I think is a safe temperature for chicken, which it is.
I've got a digital thermometer. I don't know how that works.
Yeah, that works. Well, it depends if you can get it in the chicken, but
I probably wouldn't want it. But I'll slice. I don't mind slicing mine. See if it's only going to go in my mouth anyway. So
yeah, exactly. So when you know it's cooked, take them out, leave them on a plate to rest, and then turn the oil off the heat and let that cool down, because you don't want to be cocking about with that for a while. Tomato sauce is nice and warm. That's perfect.
Cooked.
Right, we're almost at constructing stage.
I'm getting very excited right now. It smells so good.
So you've got the grill going.
So just turn the oil off, isn't it now? Yep.
Yeah, turn the heat off the oil and then just push that away and just let that cool down. And then when it comes to clearing up, you can clear out when it's a bit cooler, because if you start messing about with hot oil, putting water in it, there's a high chance you're going to cause yourself a bit of mischief. Then grab your bread, get that under the grill. There's no real time for this. It'll depend on your grill, so just keep an eye on it. When it starts melting and getting a little bit crispy, you're going to want to pull it out. And then when that's done, we're pretty much at construction stage, which is going to be bloody delicious.
I'm very much looking forward to that. Right, so get that oil out of the way. And we've got that there. Okay, so I'll just switch this camera around so we can start building from here. Okay, so the chicken is just going to rest now.
Yep.
I've got the mozzarella there. Okay, that's all good. So the tomato is pretty much done now. It's looking like...
Yeah, that's happy. And to be honest with you, you're probably not gonna. Definitely gonna have some leftover tomatoes. But if you just shove that on top of some pasta with a bit of ham or whatever you want to do, that'll be a banging tomato sauce anyway. And very much, people cock around a lot with tomato sauce, but if your tomatoes are good, all you really need is a bit of salt, maybe a bit of basil in them, and that's pretty much all you need, because that's all we use for pizza. We get really good quality tomatoes from Italy. They're called San Marzanos, and they're grown in volcanic ash. Some volcano that's in Italy. I'm ignorant. I don't know where. It's on the Instagram. Check it out. But it makes them so sweet. So we literally just get those in, add a bit of salt, and put some fresh basil in, and that's our pizza sauce. And it's you don't your initial product. product's pretty decent.
So obviously,
Go
on.
Go on, no, carry on. I'm just checking the bread to make sure it's not burning. Which it's there, so that's happy days.
I think mine's still a little bit to go yet. I think.
Yeah, no, by all means, different grills. Sorry, as you were, carry on.
I was going to ask you. So you've got the podcast. You've got it's Slice Baby, isn't it? I think the name is it the food.
It is Slice Baby. Yeah, Slice Baby UK on Instagram, I think.
Who come up with the name?
It's just a god awful pun, isn't it? I'd seen it before somewhere. I can't remember where, but I liked it, and I quite into my puns because I'm a nerd, and I looked to see if it was trademarked or if it was up for grabs as a business name for everyone who already got it, and no one had. So we quickly registered on Companies House with it and got it trademarked for the food industry, and luckily enough, no one else had it. Wow. So it's been good, and it's a bit of a talking point because people hear it and they have a little giggle and they tell their friends, and it's it's marketing without really any effort, which is decent.
I'm just going to put this up a little bit higher on the grill. So what I was going to ask you was what's next on the Ethan Waller empire
then? To be honest with you, mate, the lads at Worcester will tell you my life admin's pretty horrendous. I get things done, but it's very much a case of when my priorities are all over. I could be a lot more efficient in what I do.
Be a good secretary.
So I don't think it'd be nice. That might be the next thing on there.
Put it in the next contract when you're in the negotiations. That should be like the staple, the essential, for it.
One personal assistant, please. So the next thing is probably just improving on what we've already got.
Yeah.
So in terms of Slice, at the moment, obviously I do the majority of the heavy lifting with a few boys here and there coming to join me on various gigs. So the next step, because the worst thing about trying to hire someone with the food trailer industry, having a food trailer, is unless they had a license before '99, they've got to have a separate license to tow. Okay. So that's trying to find someone with that is pretty niche, and then try to find someone who can have the time to work and know how to do pizzas is again difficult. So the next step this summer was to get all these gigs, take the revenue, sell the trailer, buy a converted van. So we take that step out, and then it's much easier to outsource, and we can actually do trading events and festivals during the season, because in season it's pretty much non-existent. As I'm always playing, so there's not really any time.
And I can imagine at the end of the game, it's the last thing you want to be doing, isn't it? It's going to do another shift at work.
So I did one this year. I think Niall Annick came to help me, but I played, I think, 75 minutes on the weekend against Bath, and then I had to go and do 70 pizzas for a birthday party straight afterwards in the middle of Worcester. And by the end of it, mate, I was just in hell. I finished the gig and I sat down, and the guy who I did it, it was a birthday party, but the guy who owned the pub, his name's Mike. It's arch rivals in Worcester for anyone in Worcester that's listening. Fantastic little pub. He just came out and he was like, "You need a pint, don't you?" I was like, "Please."
You burned it.
Yeah, and luckily he let me keep the trailer there overnight, so I didn't have to worry about moving that.
Oh, that's
back. I just managed to get some sleep and move back in the morning. But yeah,
how
you looking?
The bread's still a bit soft. I'd say it's not getting crispy on the top. I think I've maybe had the heat down a little bit low on it, so I've just whacked it up just for a second or two. Should I take the tomatoes off now?
It's all good. Just turn the heat down just so they're still a bit warm. You can take them off. Actually, to be fair, the panel keep it warm enough. Just take it off the heat.
Fine. So I've got my chicken separate. I've got my mozzarella, and then we've got the tomatoes, and then we've got the bread to come, and then we're putting it all together. Is that correct?
That's it. We're putting it all together, but first, before we put it all together, we're going to put it under the grill again so the mozzarella melts.
Okay, that's important. Then I'll get the grill hot enough then.
Just wait, just once the bread's out, just make sure you keep the grill nice and warm.
Right, that's it. I just want to see. So I was going to ask you about like the kind of philosophy at Worcester and stuff, and how what's it like being coached by like Alan Solomons and that? What kind of relationship do you have with the management at Worcester nowadays? Obviously, you say it was a big change when you went there. It's different to what you were kind of expecting. So what's it like? What's it like there nowadays? Have you got a good relationship with the guys?
Yeah, Solly's good. Solly's honest. If you're not performing or if there's something he thinks you need to change, he'll tell you straight up. And it's the same when you're performing well. You know, it's both sides of it. We have one-on-one meetings with him after every game on a Monday if you're in the match 23 and go through things he thinks you need to work on or things you did particularly well. So it's a good relationship that we have with him, and you know, it's a shame. Well, it depends how we go with this season. I don't know what the crack is going to be in terms of whether coaches from last year are staying or whether we get a new set through.
Yeah.
Because obviously we're losing 3 coaches and gaining 3 brand new ones, but it would have been nice to say goodbye to the lads who have put in so much hard graft over the years before they go. The likes, you know, Neil Doak, Rory Duncan, and Meth Davies, especially, who's been incredible. I think Meth Davies is not only one of the best coaches I've ever had in my life, but he's also one of the best blokes I think I've ever met.
Oh, great.
So it would be a damn shame to not be able to properly bid him farewell and thank him for everything he's done, not just for the team, but for me from a personal perspective, because I think he's brought me on as a player no end.
So what have you been doing from the club? What have they kind of given you a directive of like to keep fit? Obviously, they want you to stay in shape and stuff like that. Have they given you any equipment or have given any programs, or is it kind of just you know what to do, look after yourself sort of thing?
It was the first week. Obviously, we didn't know how long it was going to go on, so we got the first week or two. We'd been given a program just to tick over for that week, and it's. As the lockdown got announced, we then got the option they opened the gym up and we got given slots to come and collect it, can collect gear. So I've got a bit of a setup in my shed at the moment, which is a rack, a barbell, a bench, and sort of 150 kilos worth of weights, which is good because it means I can keep ticking over. I'm not going to be breaking any records anytime soon, but I'm ticking over, which is the main thing. And then a lot of it's running as well, so I'm running 3 times a week, and then I've got a watt bike in my kitchen that I'm ticking over for the other 2, and then having the weekends to myself because I like to keep that bit of sort of. It goes back to the scheduling thing. It keeps that little bit of normality when I'm grafting during the week, and then the weekend I've got 2 days off.
Brilliant.
Sort of just feels like a pre-season that way.
Yeah, I've got the bread out now. I think that's kind of getting to a level. I've just turned the oven up a little bit as well. So next time we do it, so we're doing mozzarella next. Say.
We'd go full construction. Okay. So I'll set you back up on my little gimmick, and then we'll go through it. So let's tighten that up. There we go. That'll work. Right. So turn that heat off. I'll just grab a spoon for the tomatoes.
So we got. Where were the mozzarella? Was that meant to have gone on the bread?
No, not yet. Cool. So we'll do that now as we construct. So take off your top bit of bread, put that on a plate. Just leave that bit because that's not going to need to go back on.
Okay.
So you just want the bottom bit, and on the bottom we're going to layer chicken.
Yeah.
Put that straight down. Then we're going to get our tomato sauce. And just spoon that over the chicken.
Okay.
Then now's where we grab our mozzarella and just lay that down on top of the chicken as well, so you've got a nice long coverage of that.
Let's just check I'm doing that right. Yep.
And then once that's all there, you know what? It's called a chicken parmesan, and I forgot to tell you to get parmesan.
Yeah.
But I've got a little bit, so I'm going to sprinkle a little bit on just because I've got some pizza perspective. But believe me when I tell you, I've done it without it.
I realise my oven's decided to go to full smoke machine mode right now. So
has it?
So what we just put on top? Just a bit of cheese.
I'm just putting a bit of parmesan on just for a little bit because it's a little bit saltier than the mozzarella. It's got a bit of a kick to it, but it's not the end of the world if you don't have it. I can guarantee you it will still taste unreal without the parmesan.
Oh, I'm absolutely smoked out of it. Oh. Anybody who's watching, if a fire alarm goes off in a second, don't worry. Don't send This is me cooking, guys.
And then grab it, put it back under your grill again, and you're just going to keep an eye on that. Wait for the mozzarella to start melting a little bit, and then once that's melted, you can get it, pull it out, put the top on, and then crack on.
Literally, I've got my own smoker going on in this house now. Jeez.
Is it that bad? Is it? I can't see it.
No, thankfully you can't see it on the stream, but it is. It's smoky in here. Literally like an.
If it helps, mate, I've got every door open.
It is like an 80s disco in here right now. Oh, it's full on.
Where's the phone?
Yeah, that's it. A few guys' sticks, I'll be well away. Right, so doing all that kind of bits. So then, moving forward, then we've talked about your food empire. Like, what does the future of Ethan Waller, the rugby player, have? What do you want to achieve in your career? How old are you now, if you don't mind me asking?
27.
So what do you want to achieve over the next couple of seasons?
I'd like to get Worcester to a place where it's actually fulfilling its potential.
Yeah.
I think it's a cliche, mate, and it's said by every Worcester player every single year, but it genuinely, there's a reason it keeps being said, because the place has so much potential to be an incredible top six club, and it's just the finer details that need ironing out and will be there. So that's first and foremost, is I'd want to leave it in a better place than I found it. Then for me personally, I don't think there's any player playing professional rugby that doesn't want to represent their country. I'd love to pull on the white shirt. I would absolutely love to, but I know that there's a fair old bit I still need to do to get there, and I'm under no illusions that there's a lot of hard work that still needs to go into it, and that's sort of what I'm using this period for. Because it's hard in season. It's easy to fall into a trap of, I'm a bit sore today. I'm not feeling it. I've got a lot on. I've got a big game to prep for the weekend. I can't do X, Y, and Z. But at the moment, it's a huge opportunity to bet yourself one way or another. That's making a bit of smoke. Oh, that's looking all right. Let's keep that in there a little bit longer. Yeah, and it's an opportunity to sort of work on those things, and that's what I'm trying my best to do.
Yeah.
From a rugby perspective, and hopefully, before my career ends, I can pull it on at least once. But if it hasn't, I'll have hopefully still had a pretty decent go of it.
Brilliant. Right, so how long we got left on this one, do you think, then, before we...
I think we're literally just, as soon as it's melted, just put it out and we're good to go, I think. Get it out on your plate, and then literally just put a lid on it and we're good to go.
Okay, get this out.
Move that to an area that's not hanging.
And that on top. And voila. There. So the last thing I just want to ask you, obviously today this is all about team talk and getting people to kind of reach out to their friends, and I kind of wanted to just ask really, like, what do you do to kind of keep mentally fit? Like, something that Looseheadz really drive their big message is keeping not physically fit, it's being mentally fit as well. I just wanted to ask you kind of how you keep sharp.
I think, as I mentioned already, the scheduling is a massive thing for me. Having that routine in my week is massive for my mental strength, in terms of it doesn't just become one long slog.
Yeah.
You break it up into smaller segments. You know that, I'm going to be grafting on whatever it might be, whether that's training or one of the businesses, admin, from sort of 7 till 3 or 4 in the afternoon. And then the evening's my own. And I know that I'm doing that every day, Monday to Friday, and having the weekends to relax and do whatever I want, whether that's making something grossly unhealthy to eat or playing the guitar or whatever it might be. And along with that, I think it's just keeping in touch as much as possible. I speak to my family a lot. I think I've used this period to catch up with old friends quite a bit as well. I had a FaceTime with a good member of the old Saints crew that I hadn't some of whom I hadn't spoken to since I left, which was brilliant. And it's just making sure that you have a set period of time every single day to do something that makes you genuinely happy or something you really enjoy doing. And there's so much pressure at the moment to learn a new skill or be better at whatever in this period. But I think the thing that's got to be the first and foremost is just making sure you're smiling. It's a tough enough time as it is, and putting external pressure on yourself is no real benefit to anyone. If you want to learn something and it makes you happy, go for it. Otherwise, just make sure you're doing whatever it is that keeps you smiling every day.
Brilliant. Listen, thank you very much for joining me. And
thanks for having me.
it's been an absolute blast, and I'm looking forward to eating the rest of this now. So, guys, thanks a lot for watching. There'll be more stuff throughout the day, so keep an eye on the channel throughout the day. And yeah, big thank you again to you, Ethan. So thank you very much.
No worries. Thanks for having me, mate.